and you said that investor reluctance warrants attention. So I want to get a sense of whether you can elaborate a bit more on what kind of attention would we need to address this investor reluctance, and is it only about the rupee or there's a broader concern that is driving investor reluctance? And secondly, I have a question on PPP, but I will ask after this.
So, I did not use the word indiscriminate, by the way, it's your word, not mine.
So
I simply said quality controls orders have been revoked and suspended, and that's a good thing because the government revisits some of its own stance when the empirical experience is shows that the net costs are higher than the net benefits, etc. So that is exactly the point I made, nothing more, nothing less. And when it comes to investors, I have nothing more to add. I said valuation concerns, maybe the fact that India doesn't have an AI story, and uncertainties related to tariff might be holding investors back. But if you look at the flows of FIIs over the years, there have been times when they have come in and when they have been out for slightly longish period, we would like them to be, etc. So I also said usually when sentiment is weak, that is actually also a good contrarian indicator for the market to revive and for investors to come back. So there are both geopolitical factors. I alluded to the opportunity cost of sending money overseas, etc. So multiple factors. It's neither correct nor would it do justice to the issue to try and reduce it to just a couple of variables.
Just a quick question.
I think we should probably let others and then come back later.
Yes, one question is, I think you have to be considerate first. So, 54.
So this is Rishabh Bhatnagar with NDTV Profit. Firstly, sir, what is the sort of impact that you're seeing of the rebasing of the CPI when it comes to inflation assessment? And secondly, you point that private investment intentions are improving. What does it mean given the fact that there are certain penal tariffs still in place?
The new CPI would be released on 12th of February, so we would be knowing the numbers, but we are not expecting inflation to be a major concern at this point, given the drivers are really benign at this point in time.
237.
The next question on private investment intentions, Dr. Sansar Sarkar will respond to you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
My name is Suchandrima. I'm from INS. I have two questions. The first is rupee has breached 92 level against US dollar today. So how do you look this situation and how can this be tackled? And my second question is on foreign investors.
So the long-term answer is manufacturing competitiveness, exports. And in the short run, some developments may not be in our control. But more importantly, the fact that the rupee is not reflecting the macro fundamentals and the sustained growth rate will definitely catch the attention of some investors, and that is when the tide will turn. And if you look at the rupee's performance, as I showed you, it isn't out of line with all other emerging market currencies have gone through and are going through at this point in time. It is a geopolitical risk, and that is what is reflected, not just in the Indian rupee, but elsewhere. That's why I wanted to put the Indian rupee performance in the context of what's happening elsewhere. So the answer to your question lies in the fact that as the currency remains weak, and fundamentals continue to display strength and solidity, investors will reappraise their stance towards the currency. And if we continue on the path of structural reforms, as we have been doing in the last 12 to 18 months, both in the union and state governments, then as Indian exports show resilience and even growth, that will also further consolidate the revised perceptions on the Indian rupee going forward.
Two number, I think. You lost.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. So good afternoon, Sapna Das here from CNBC TV 18. So two quick ones. You explained a lot on the rupee, and the commentary is also quite significant what you mentioned in the survey. But given the fact that all these are reforms underway or need to be done, are being done, are in the process, in the pipeline, the fact remains that our real effective exchange rate has also come down substantially, over the last few days. So, in the near term, what's the outlook from the government side as far as the INR is concerned on that journey? Because there doesn't seem to be a stoppage at the moment in terms of the downward spiral for the reasons that have been explained pretty well. So that's one. And so secondly, you have probably kind of suggested or said that could consider the fact that without a complete privatization or without government losing control over CPSEs, maybe the stake can be cut to 26% in the PSUs. 26% without by retaining the government company tag, and the other option is to continue with the coming below 51% via the OFS route without changing the company definition in the Companies Act. Something on those lines. Are we talking about a possible return to privatization agenda, which has not been spoken about in the last 3 odd years? It'd be nice if you could explain. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. On the second part of your query, Economic Survey has given an option to explore the possibility of monetizing on the government stake. It's not about completely lock, stock, barrel sale of the company. That is not what is written out there. What we have mentioned there is, in case of listed companies, only for listed companies, what we effectively need is 26% stake, which is the special resolution right stake. So for those listed companies, given the fact that almost in 30% of our listed companies, we have come below around 60% shareholding. So if you have to remain as a government company, by definition, government has to hold 51% stake. So in case government wants to keep these companies as government companies, what government could do is to amend the Companies Act and say that for listed companies, that threshold would be 26%. So they would remain as government companies. The other option is, if government wants to take a decision on privatization of these companies, then you can very well do that without amending the definition. So the moment you go below 51%, you become a non-government company by that clause. But this is only a suggestion that Economic Survey has given. Government could explore this at a later point in time in detail. The concerned department would be probably deeper. So they would look at it in depth and would examine this matter. This is only a suggestion at this point in time. Thank you.
Sapna, as for your first question, I think I've given enough answers already on the rupee, apart from what I have said. I don't think the government of India gives outlook for the rupee. We are not the private sector. And we reflect, the rupee reflects the market forces, and if at all, you may want to direct your question to Mint Street in Mumbai.
I would request only one question may be asked, and please don't repeat the same question. 81. 81. Hi sir, Prakash Pridashi from ET now. Economic Survey has in fact noted that the GST cuts have supported domestic consumption. What further measures would you suggest to boost consumption going forward?
Look, growth is the important driver of consumption, and the government has done few things. One is the reduction in the indirect tax rates and the widening of the slabs, the reduction in the GST rates, now the ensuring that both monetary and fiscal policy contributes to lower inflation, also puts purchasing power in the hands of people. These are all the various steps that the government has taken to raise disposable income and purchasing power, and that is why consumption growth is holding up at high levels. So a lot of these actions are feeding through or flowing through in terms of the disposable income and continued employment growth, and that is why the notification of labor codes and even the various deregulation exercises, to the extent that they boost economic activity, leading to employment generation, more income, and therefore more purchasing power and more consumption. That is how the economic cycle moves on.
25.
I am Ravi Shankar Kapoor. I am a freelance journalist. My question is to Dr. Nageswaran. Dr. Nageswaran, you have mentioned, you emphasized manufacturing strength. Now, there was a national manufacturing policy in 2011, then Make in India 11 years back. So, in this survey, what is it specific, which is different from recommendation, which is different from which have not been made so far? If you can put your finger on such recommendation.
No, I mean, so good question, but sometimes we don't have to say anything new. Reinforcement and repetition are virtues in themselves. And more importantly, we do point out the importance of deregulation, input cost reduction, reduction in inversion, cluster-led growth, which is covered in the chapter on industry, and also the importance given to R&D and innovation through these are all the various factors that we are highlighting, whether they have been said before or not said before. As Mark Twain once said, my best thoughts have been stolen by my ancestors. So there is no presumption on our part that we are coming up with a new source.
214, 214.
Sir, good afternoon. This is Surbhi from Business Today. Sir, I wanted to ask you a question around the gig economy. So the survey has spoken about the number of gig workers, and it's noted that the growth of gig workers outpaces overall employment. So, sir, I wanted your thoughts on whether you think that this is a matter of concern, because generally a regular wage employment is something which is seen as the most suitable thing. And secondly, while unemployment levels have gone down, they still do remain a matter of concern. So I wanted your thoughts on whether schemes like, the ELI and PMIS, they've had the desired result. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So your first question on whether growing gig economy is a matter of concern is, I don't think so, because even the labor codes have now recognized gig workers. They have given a definition, and now they are going to be brought under social security norms. So the idea of the government is to treat them as on par with other workforce and provide them the necessary social security. And of course, when the labor code gets fully implemented, you will actually see a rise in the wages also. There will be stabilization. So there is no concern on that front as of now. And of course, a lot of measures are being taken towards employment generation. There is no dearth of schemes and measures that the government is taking, NCS, E-Shram, so and a lot of specific schemes. So I don't think there is any concern on, there is no dearth of action being taken on that front.
39. We'll take everyone. Only 4-5 people have been there.
सर कृष्ण मोहन शर्मा भारत एक्सप्रेस से मेरा नागनाथन सर से सवाल है कि ग्रोइंग इंडिया एंड ग्रोन इंडिया, जो ओल्ड एज सिटीजन है उनका आने वाले समय में उनका रख रखाव उनका इलाज एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या होने वाली है सारे विकसित देशों में। उसकी तरफ हमारी सरकार की क्या योजना और किस तरीके से आगे?
So I think last year in the survey we had covered a lot about elder care also, and elder care being an economy of its own. And I think also an NITI Aayog report on how elder care can be taken care of, and what all actions government can be taken and is also being taken. So I think action on that is ongoing.
280.
So good afternoon. So with what briefly I could read in the given time, this survey does flag US stablecoins as a risk to capital flow stability. From an India stance point of view, is there further on cryptocurrency or stablecoins that the survey mentions of? There hasn't been much since the FSB IMF report.
What is the actual operative part of your statement? What is the question?
Does the survey mention anything related to cryptocurrency or stablecoins?
Our position is very similar to what is being articulated by the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, that yes, I mean, and it is not just unique to India. First of all, the US dollar stable coins are still not operational yet. As and when it happens, we have to observe and see what kind of implications it has towards global capital flows, and also in terms of Indian-centric capital outflows or inflows, etc. So right now, there is nothing more to add to than what we have already said in the survey. And it is in congruence with what the Deputy Governor, Mr. Ravi Shankar, has been speaking about on this topic.
238.
So this is Priyansh from Money Control. I know you have spoken on the rupee, but it is a question on rupee again. So sir, one part is that the survey says that the rupee adds to imported inflation. That's one. Also is positive for that. So is there a level that you have in mind beyond which the effects would be negative for the economy?
I think it is difficult to put some numbers there. I think the paragraph that you're referring to is based on an econometric exercise we did. And it is a continuation of the exercise we wrote about in the last economic survey, where we looked at the aggregate trade deficit. And this time we broke it down into impact of the rupee on exports, imports, capital flows separately, a disaggregated analysis, which is a continuation of what we did in the previous economic survey. I would urge you to read it in full to be able to find the answers to your question.
424.
Hello, sir. Ruchika from Business Standard. First of all, congratulations for a very comprehensive and forward-looking survey. Sir, in context of what the survey talks about, the fiscal indiscipline at the state level casting a shadow on sovereign borrowing costs, just wanted to get a view, is the survey placing a greater risk to sovereign bond yields because of the states, given that fiscally, if we take out SASCI, the fiscal deficit has been maintained at 2.82?
I think there's nothing more to add to what I said in the course of the presentation, because investors, since Indian bond market has been, sovereign bond market has been open to foreign investors, they do look at the general government deficit, and whether it is 4.4 plus 2.8 or whether it is 4.4 plus 3, depending on what the actual number turns out to be for the union and the state governments, it is still on the higher side. Our long-term goal, which was enunciated in the old FRBM, was around 6%. So, and investors do take a look at this overall figure. And that is why we said, right now, I also answered in an earlier question that because of good nominal GDP growth, GSDP growth, there is no aggregate impact on the fiscal deficit numbers, but quality of expenditure may be suffering, again, in relation to what could be possible. And those expenditure are the ones that have higher multiplier effect even for employment and income generation for the very households that are being supported through unconditional cash transfers. So this is all there is to it, and I have nothing more to add to that.
142.
Left.
Good afternoon, sir. Kriti Ambe from Informist Media. This is also related to the commentary in the survey on rupee. It mentions that an undervalued rupee would not hurt at this point. So would not hurt at this point. So should that be read as a degree of policy comfort with a weaker currency? And do you have a specific level or a period of undervaluation of rupee beyond which probably the phenomenon would bring discomfort?
There is a law of diminishing marginal utility to any public commentary on the rupee beyond a point. And I think we have reached that point.
22. We'll take the last two questions after that.
Sir, I'm Shalini from ANI. Sir, my question is, as you mentioned during the presentation about the role that manufacturing units play for GDP growth, can you mention what are those subsectors?
See, as the manufacturing has been an important emphasis of recent government policies, including the National Manufacturing Mission, which aims for achieving GDP from roughly about 12.9% to 25% in a sectoral manner, like emphasizing on sectoral issues. Also, if you see the PLI, that 14 broad sector, which has brought in 2 lakh crore of investment and 19 lakh crore of output and 12 lakh jobs. So if you see these, it is clear that these are the sectors that is on the priority list of the government. Thank you.
26.
Just to add to what my colleague Chanchal said, in chapter 16, also in part 1, we do talk about the kind of manufacturing, which sectors we should take up first for indigenization, which can come later, which can be left to market forces, which can be actively promoted by the state, etc., given strategic considerations. That's also covered in chapter 16, part 1, in addition to chapter 10. Chapter 9 is the industry chapter. Chapter 8 is industry, and chapter 16 part 1 together, that gives you an idea about the kind of manufacturing strategy we should be pursuing.
Yes, 26.
So this is the
Oh, your mic is not working. Yeah, it's okay.
This is Deepak Mandal from New Indian Express. So last year you had yeah. So last year in your economic survey report, you had said you had flagged the risk of over financialization of Indian markets. This year also you said that Indian financial markets are far away from the ground reality. So what are the steps the government has taken so far, and what more it can do to address this issue?
I don't think I remember saying in the survey, but maybe in some other public appearances. But subsequently, there have been a lot of regulatory action taken by SEBI, so there is nothing more to add to that.
17. I think this is the last question.
Good afternoon, I'm Nikun Johri from Reuters. The survey mentioned imposing age-based access limits for use of social media, and you briefly mentioned that age-based access limit for social media, and you briefly mentioned in a presentation as well the example of Andhra Pradesh and Goa. So do you think the Indian government should also come up with a regulation just like Australia, which currently bans use of social media for children under 16?
I have no specific idea about when or if the government of India would do so, and even in those countries it is still very early stage. They are trying to assess how effective it is, etc. But what we have heard is that the Andhra government and the Goan government are mulling these ideas. But as I said, some of these things need not necessarily only be policy driven. There is as much to do for the civil society, educational institutions, parents, and the adults themselves. Policy can help, but I think these are also issues which go beyond policy. But I don't have any idea on whether Government of India is contemplating something like this.
Now this is last question. Sir, 47, last. Okay, one question. Private investment. Sir.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Somebody had asked about private investment. Where are you seeing the signs of private investment coming up? We had mentioned about the CapEx survey in our chapter. There has been an increase of 66% in the CapEx allocation. That was the first ever survey. The second survey is going on. Even if you don't take the government surveys, if you look at CMI announcements, the corporate announcements that have happened, in the first half of last year, it would have been somewhere around 7 trillion, and this year it would have been 14 trillion. Another metric that you can look at is the growth in the net fixed capital assets of at least the listed companies. Compared to last year, it has gone up this year. I haven't mentioned this in the survey, but these are the ways in which you can look at how the corporate investment is picking up. Thank you.
Sir, Subhash Narayan from Mint. I just wanted to check. The survey is pitching for overhauling the RTI. That's mentioned in page 660 of the report. What is the logic? What is the rationale?
I think the logic is given in the, first of all, I wouldn't use the word overhauling. And second, the logic is what is explained in the bauxite.
Those are the.
That's the answer.
You okay? Ask.